Yes, everything is in order. So let's dig into it. Let's dig into it. I want to clarify a lot of some of the more important aspects of what is going on right now, so that it gets very complex, but it's also quite simple. It's also quite simple, and the simplicity comes from understanding a few basic, um, let's say, elements of the whole puzzle. And I will try to explain those again so that we have the right tools to analyze from this moment on the situation at Shape. So I will remind everybody again. Shape Robotics was sent into an unlawful bankruptcy on the 6th of January 2026. 59 days later, we have the declaration of the unlawfulness from the High Court. The High Court decided 3 judges to 0 that the law was not enforced correctly, was not respected, and therefore, because of the summoning process, therefore it was sent to retrial. What this means exactly? So the law is quite a mathematical structure, so it has to be understood like that. We have been declared bankrupt without a proper hearing. This is what the High Court has said. So we were not served, therefore we were not in court, therefore we didn't receive the right of to defend. So what the High Court has said, you need to retrial the bankruptcy claims which existed, which are correct bankruptcy claims, but you need to make sure that the company is there. Due to a procedural error, the decision was made by the Maritime Court that the company was declared bankrupt. Tice was appointed curator, and we didn't have the right to defend the bankruptcy petitions against the bankruptcy petitions. So that means that the High Court has decided on the 5th of March with unanimity that we are to have a retrial. We should have a retrial. A retrial in which we should have the possibility to defend against the bankruptcy claims. I remind everybody that trial was scheduled, has received the first date on the 20th of March. And in that date, the High Court, the lower court has decided that it will need 5 months to process correctly the summons and to start the trial in a proper way. On the 14th of April, Hervé Stillesen has decided, without taking in consideration our EGM that was legally formed and submitted in time, to put us into forced dissolution. We have defended against that decision in person with the support of the shareholders, represented by Bo. And although we had a good defense, I would say, because we have submitted in time everything, we got to a point that the judge has decided that the company should be put in forced liquidation, but not with the purpose to declare it bankrupt. In my opinion, the judge was just trying to make sure that the company has the necessary tools to be able to defend against the bankruptcy claims, because during that the court date, I was informed that on the 20th of May, we have the right for a hearing against the initial bankruptcy claims. Okay? So the liquidation procedure was to protect the interests of the company in the mind of the judge, I would say, okay, as an instrument, to make sure that we are able to reinstate the company in a proper way. The only thing that doesn't work here is that Tice is not a candidate for this job, okay? Which the court, in my opinion, has taken a decision, not knowing that Tice has done what he has done. But we will go to that point. We have appealed that decision to name Tice as liquidator because of the very clear conflict of interest that Tice has. And I will park this idea for now. This appeal probably will be finalized within the next week or so. If this appeal goes through, Tice will be kicked out as liquidator. Now, what happened a couple of days ago? We have filed for a reconstruction claim uh, on which the management of the company, represented by me, and on which the EGM has voted with a majority vote on agreeing with the reconstruction, based on a promissory note validated by Romanian courts, that the company, using this claim, this company should have gone into reconstruction. Unfortunately, the judge didn't see it as we hoped it will see it because of the noise that Tice has made. I remind everybody that Tice disagreed with the restructuring, although this is the will of the shareholders. So the Tice has been directly disagreeing with the will of the shareholders in the AGM. The judge has decided to not grant reconstruction because she, and I quote, considered that the claim has not enough clarity. This is a concept that works in the Danish court systems. Sorry, I need some water. It's about providing superficial clarity to the claim, which Tice has um, fought against. I believe that in appeal, this is a no-brainer that we will win. The procedure itself is very, very shallow, very superficial in the maritime court. So it's only a 10-minute fast forward. It's at the McDonald's style. But what is the more interesting aspect is immediately after this was rejected, Tice has filed for bankruptcy. And another judge came into the meeting room and opened the bankruptcy of Shape Robotics. And this is where it gets extremely interesting. In every law system in this world, including Denmark, there is a very clear hierarchy between courts. Okay, so the High Court has decided that we are to have a retrial on the initial bankruptcy proceedings. I remind everybody that if today there is a bankruptcy proceeding against a company, and tomorrow there is another bankruptcy proceeding submitted against the company, the second bankruptcy proceeding will be always receiving the same court date as the first bankruptcy proceeding. So there is no possibility. It's called litis pendency. It's basically a simple concept that says that you cannot have judgment on the same situation in different court dates. So what happens is very simple. Again, you have a bankruptcy claim or an insolvency or restructuring or a money claim on Shape Robotics, and that has a court date. That court date was in August, okay? For instance, for the retrial. But let's say you have a bankruptcy claim, and then there is another company wanting to submit a new bankruptcy claim. The second bankruptcy claim will always be receiving the same court date as the first one. It will be judged together. That's why we had 6 bankruptcy claims. If you all remind that this was one of the discussions, okay? Initially, there were 3 bankruptcy claims that needed retrial. It came to, 4. It came to 6 because Tice has brought in 2 more, A4 and Danske. But this is very clear because it applies very clearly in the sense that the bankruptcy claims that were supposed to be retrialed received a court date, and Tice tried to bring new bankruptcy claim-ins. That's what he tried to do before the retrialing. And those 2 new bankruptcy claims received the same trial date. Okay? So I don't know if you get the point here exactly, and I hope to have some feedback from your side. But the High Court has decided that we need to have a retrial, and by the decision of the lower court the other day to open a new bankruptcy without trying the initial retrial, they committed a gross negligence. And this is why we will win also the appeal. So I want to explain this very clearly again. We have never had the opportunity to retrial the first bankruptcy claim. Tice has become curator in an unlawful way. He has done in 59 days a complete destruction of value of the company. Although his mandate was very clear, his mandate was to preserve the status quo. And Tice, I will just name three things that he has done. One, bankrupted on his own decision Sanako, profitable with contracts in Poland. It's proven. Two, never informed the market about anything. And he had the obligation, this is already confirmed by the DFSA. And third, the most important one for the shareholders, he has canceled the EGM. All of these three things, knowing three major things, of course, there are many other smaller ones which will add up to the bill of at the end of this show that he will have to pay. You have to add on top of this the fact that the will of the shareholders again was destroyed by this guy. So I repeat to make it very simple. One, zero communication. Two, bankruptcy, or the other way. One, bankruptcy of Sanako. Two, zero communication. Three, EGM cancelled, all knowing that there is a pending appeal. By the way, all these decisions were done knowing that there is a pending appeal. His obligation under the law of bankruptcy is to protect the assets and the interests of the creditors. Where is this protection? I will explain to you, Valentin, immediately. So, Tice, in his curatorship during the unlawful bankruptcy, has done a poor job. This is called malpraxis, and why he will receive the bill at the end of his play right now, whatever he wants. The court, during the liquidation or in the process of liquidation, took a decision that was very superficial by using a logic of order that the court, the bankruptcy court, I remind, the bankruptcy system in Denmark is one of the poorest and the weakest bankruptcy systems in the world. At the level of some African nations. This is the reality. You can check this. Don't quote me. Check. Go to Google. Check. It's at the level of Angola. Because it's one of the only European countries that has any that doesn't have any sort of restructuring priority. So in all European countries and all 26 EU countries, first you put a company in restructuring, then in bankruptcy. No, in Denmark you put it first in bankruptcy. It's at the level of Angola, okay? And you do that without proper hearing. We are not what the maritime court does every day, which is, I don't know, coffee shops, bakeries. This is what they know how to do. We are a publicly listed company that has been bankrupt unlawfully. Who will give us the 59 days back? Who will bring value to an already crippled company due to the pump and dump? So you have the perfect victim, a company crippled by the pump and dump with no proper management, trying to recovering on the stock exchange with more than 300% growth in the share price in the last month before the bankruptcy was reinstated or instated first time. And then you decide that 4,800 shareholders should be sent to the gutter. I don't have anything to say against the decisions of the court here. I'm critical of the system itself, because is throwing away investors. This is a system that doesn't allow real innovation. It's a system that doesn't allow risk takers to move capital into Denmark, because paying things on time is not something that happens in a startup. In a startup, you struggle with money, you try to do it, and therefore look at the American system where you see all the innovation. People that make something of themselves at least have 2 or 3 bankruptcies. I remind everybody the president of the US has 6 bankruptcies. Okay? And chapter 11. So restructuring, redoing business, restarting, trying to solve problems. This is the way. No, here in 59 days of value destruction, we have absolutely no chance to look at what happened there, because the guy that destroyed it is now again the bankruptcy curator. It is something considered normal. Why? Because the court says I need to put somebody there as a liquidator first of all, and the liquidator that was available at that time was Thijs. And it's normal. This is what happens in Denmark. You appoint a liquidator that has some kind of knowledge about the company, and this is normal to put Thijs. Okay, you can then appeal on the decision like we do, and of course, then is the time to mention all of the stuff that I just said into the high court decision-making process. So, again, you need to understand something that I learned myself harshly. In the maritime court, everything is super superficial. You don't even have the proofing system that you require in a proper normal court date. So it's mostly oral. The lawyers speak and support the customers in this sense. And when you have tricky people like Thijs, who, by the way, lied at least 3 times, but I will keep it a little bit under as a surprise because I know he's following us. And he had the upper hand in this lower court because it's mostly about bullying, about who has the bigger voice, who is the most trustful, blah, 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 blah. Okay? The high court doesn't allow oral testimony or any sort of lawyers being present in the decision or the presentation of the lawsuit. So it's mostly on paper. And this is where we excel. That's why we won, because we excel on putting evidence in a concrete way. So I will spend a lot of time in the next episodes discussing with you and explaining exactly why this is a major problem in Denmark. And I think that the result of Shape Robotics will be a change in the law of the Shape Robotics case. Because you cannot have a decision of the high court cancelled by a workaround in the lower court. So we never had the opportunity to get a retrial. The high court has sent the bankruptcy claim to a retrial. And again, another crazy thing, which the lawyers are shocked in Denmark when I ask them about this. How come when you have a restructuring claim it's not a definitive solution on the restructuring claim, so it's a temporary solution, a provisional solution, okay? How do you enforce a negative decision? Because the court in the lower court today, on Monday, has said that we reject the opening of the restructuring and you have 14 days to appeal. So this is not a definitive solution. So there is no change in the company. Still, Thijs is liquidator. But there is something in the law that states that when there is a pending reconstruction claim, you cannot have a bankruptcy claim. You cannot set a date on a bankruptcy claim. So while this reconstruction claim was just rejected in the first court, this doesn't mean you don't still have a pending bankruptcy claim because we're appealing it. It's not a definitive solution. Therefore, again, here is another problem. How do you open a bankruptcy claim during a reconstruction, an open reconstruction claim? And second, how do you open a new bankruptcy claim before you go and retry the pending retrial claim, the one that the high court decided for a retrial? So the list of problems here, it's absolutely fantastical, but the battle is so tough because Tice is desperate to cover his mistakes during the initial 59 days. Those are the crucial ones. Our victory was sublime there because on those 59 days we managed to destroy everything. We managed to cancel and destroy everything he's done there. I remind you that the desperate fool has tried to cancel our claim against him at DFSA level. It was his first email as liquidator to try to stop the DFSA to look into him. So how can you allow somebody that destroyed value to represent now a new shape of, because let's be very honest. Let's say that bankruptcy today is a solution. Let's say that the company should be bankrupt. Okay, we could play with this situation. But why still Ties there? Because this bankruptcy's reason today, the reason of the bankruptcy today, is a result of poor management of the company during the 59 days of unlawful bankruptcy. So the reason of the bankruptcy today is the bankruptcy from the 6th of January. So how can the same person look objectively and defend the creditors? Because all the creditors now will point out, we want our money recuperated from whoever has caused an unlawful bankruptcy. So this is mind-blowing. But that is why it makes it quite exciting, and I believe that this will be a chapter in the Danish investment community and stock exchange, and that will remain in history. You cannot go fast forward in bankruptcy on a publicly listed company. It's not normal. This is not well designed. You can do that with a coffee shop. You cannot do it with a publicly listed company that, by the way, had a large equity line already there. So how, for instance, can anybody from the creditor list accept that Ties gives them zero today when already we know that there was an EGM cancelled that would have brought 15 million euros into the company if should it have been accepted? So simple questions. Why cancel the EGM? Why? When you know that there is a pending appeal? Because you're a crook. That's why. So let's have some questions. Yeah. Did I make myself well understood? It is easy for you to follow? It's kind of unbelievable, the level of unprofessionalism in the court. No, it's not the level of the court. The court is not unprofessional. The law is bad. It simply doesn't work. The court, I have nothing to say against the court. The court had zero experience in working with public listed company. The judge didn't understand what was a promissory note. That the judge didn't understand what is a EGM. And you don't have the opportunity during these fast forward processes to also give the chance for the judge to prepare herself or himself. So imagine that you take a decision, Valentin, you're Romanian. Imagine that in Romania, this happened during communist days. This was this fast forward court. Later on, you started having this formality very well put into place where you have time to submit your opinion, you have time to receive the other party's opinion. So, for instance, we went into court the other day without knowing what Tice will show into the court, and he's shown an article from Borson. This is not a normal European 2026 country. This is an island system. Okay. And I remind everybody, Denmark is the only country in Europe who has opted out of the unified bankruptcy system in Europe. It's fantastic. So it's self-isolating. Because you have exactly the situation here. We won the appeal in the high court. Who brings us back the 59 days of destruction? Nobody. The appeal, it is it the same casual procedure that they have to do, or they look at? No, the appeal is different. The appeal is very systematic and very. It's only on documents. It's only on documents. So, for instance, our appeal on the initial ruling for the liquidation has 400 pages. You know what? I will present the appeal tonight. I will present the appeal um, so you can read it. It's a good read, I guarantee you. Questions? So the hope rests with the appeal and how strong that will be. No, Valentin, there is no problem right now for us. So the idea is like this: we already won the biggest battle, which was the 59 days. Okay, winning the appeal against the bankruptcy. There is no way in this European Union that this is lost. We have already won because this is just delays. Because if the Danish system will fail, we will go to the European court. There is no way we will not win this because it's absolutely basic. You have received the right to retrial. Imagine, let's make a simple parenthesis here. To use some sort of metaphysics, or how it's called, metaphorical, parallel. Let's Okay. You go to you have, let's say, killed somebody. You are accused of murder. Okay, and court decides that you should go to jail, and you are sent to jail, and you go into an appeal. 2 months later, you win because you didn't have the right to defend yourself. Of course, you're innocent. Okay, and then instead of releasing you from jail, they throw you in jail for another thing and give you the equivalent penalty. So it's like there was a movie called Double Jeopardy, if you remember, quite famous, with a lady that was accused killing her husband. She went to jail for 8 years, and the husband was not dead, and in the end, she actually killed him. So the same situation here. We are released from prison. We are supposed to have a retrial, and then we are thrown back into prison because of another motive on the same crime. It's mind blowing, but this is the reality. Unfortunately, this is the reality, and this is not the unprofessionalism of the court. Is the problem systematic problem of the bankruptcy system in Denmark. I remind everybody, it's one of the fewest countries in the world that does not start with restructuring. Romania, for instance, Valentin, restructuring is mandatory. You need to restructure first. You need to try it. And what's more important is to understand the dynamics between the parties, because Thais is burning cash. It's burning cash like crazy. So for all the appeals that cost us almost nothing, Thai spends hundreds of thousands of euros. So it's an asymmetrical guerrilla warfare kind of system, but we have the advantage here because in the end we have already won the biggest battle. The cat is attacking me. Hi, Bo. The appeal for the decision, did they say when they will process the appeal? The appeal for the decision of naming Thais as liquidator, so from on the 14th, um, it's going to take place most likely next week. So today it was the last day where you could submit written documents. And usually, as I understand, tomorrow it's a free day. Usually it takes 48 hours for a decision, something like that. I don't know. I have no clue. So imagine that first time it took 59 days. Now it's already a month. So I don't know. Let's see. By the way, since Thais became again curator, how many company announcements he made? Just as a rhetorical question. Good, guys. So I hope I informed you quite well. I hope you understand. Give me some feedback. What do you think, Valentin? Karsten, did you understand exactly the setup? Makes sense? Is it common common law in the end? Common sense. Good, guys. So I will disconnect for now. Yeah, it's still a tough battle ahead, though, but it's not so tough. And like it was at the beginning, we are trying to okay, our chance here is to be able to have a strong community, to be able to be united, and to be able to have enough traction, to do it, because we are in an advantage. We don't have a we write an appeal together with some of our sponsors in this situation, and then the rest is Dice's battle. We have an advantage because I'm asking simple questions. Where is the EGM? Why did you cancel the EGM? Knowing that that was a lifeline if the appeal would have went through. So, for instance, imagine the mindset, the evil thinking of such a crook that he said, I don't give a rat's ass about this appeal. The bankruptcy is lawful. I know it. Let's destroy the company. This is how he fought. So, pardon my English, but his respect for the shareholders is zero or minus. Okay. Have a good one, my friends. Enjoy. We'll we'll bring justice back to Denmark. We'll change the law for you. Have a good day. Bye bye.